All right. Welcome to episode 3 of This Is Who We Are podcast. Today we are going to be joined by our special guest, Francisco Briseno. Francisco and I have known each other for about 7 years now, and we work together. He is an auto tech teacher, and in his past life he was a mechanic, although I would say that he still definitely is a mechanic, whether he wants to be or not. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode and try to get into plumb the depths of teaching and working. So hopefully you enjoy it. If you do, please make sure to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the other side. All right, you ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's start off. What's your name?
Francisco Briseno.
Francisco Briseno. How long have you been teaching?
7 years.
7 years. What do you teach?
Auto tech.
Auto tech. What did you do in your past life?
Before doing this, I kind of was all over the place. Started out working at a shop. Now, sorry, my first job, like everybody else. Started at a shop, ended up with my own shop. Ended up almost going crazy because of running my own business when I was young, and somehow ended up teaching after that.
And so that's mechanics, right?
Yeah.
How'd you get into mechanics?
I used to take shit apart.
Word. Yeah. I got real good at taking the shit apart. I just never got good at putting it back together.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that part. So what made you become a mechanic?
I don't know, I just enjoyed watching shit come back together and actually working and looking for that next challenge and the necessity of not having money to pay somebody else to fix all my own shit.
Yeah.
Having to do it.
Yeah, I think anytime I do anything mechanical, it's never because I like it. It's because I'm broke.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of money that you save, it's almost knowing after I knew I could do one thing, I didn't want to just pay somebody else to do the next thing. I might as well just try it. If it doesn't work, it's already broken anyway.
What was you were telling me about the Sonic this morning. What was the story with the Cruise, the Chevy Cruise? How much money for?
Oh, $800 for someone not to check my fluid.
Yeah. So low on coolant.
Low on coolant.
AC wouldn't work because the car couldn't cool itself.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how much shit you come across with. Car's been out of shop, it's been here, it's been there, and it's the simplest little fucking thing that somebody just looked over and didn't bother to actually check or doesn't fully understand how it's supposed to work.
Like if somebody's trying to do their AC and they don't turn the valves on the gauges, and then they vacuum it for 45 minutes.
And then you use vacuuming the hoses for 45 minutes, yeah.
Well, man, only a jackass would do that.
You'd be surprised.
What has learning mechanics taught you?
That everything, everywhere was somehow put together by someone that's human, just like yourself. And if you don't mind reading and actually looking into something, you can figure it out.
Yeah, I think that like maybe something they overlook in education is mechanics teaching you like how to think critically.
Definitely. Because just like you said, you can overlook one simple fluid check, and you're gonna end up changing part after part, chasing your own tail, and you're never gonna fix that car. Then someone comes along and it's like, hey, ain't got no gas. You know,
it's sling blade.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like being able to think mechanically and know that like it can only go forwards or backwards so many degrees, whereas instead of like just guessing, and I mean like things in life, you know, like I don't know if that makes sense.
It's I mean, the way I see it is just like physics only work one way. If you're working with hydraulics, pneumatics, fluids, whichever one you're working with, work with those theories, and no matter what it is, it's gonna
it has to apply. Yeah, it has to fall into the line of whatever that whatever that's dealing with.
If you just put your head out of your ass and think about it for a second, then you can figure it out.
Tell me about the industry as far as like working in the automotive industry. And I guess that could be from like a mechanic standpoint or a tech or, even hobbyist.
It's getting harder, I think. Uh, it's full of fucking idiots. That's at least from what I come across. It's full of idiots. Nobody knows what they're doing, but no one in charge wants to hire a bunch of guys that know what they're doing because those guys are worth money.
Yeah.
But you can hire 10 idiots and have one guy that's half decent, keeping them in line. Then that's how you create a successful business because you're only paying one good salary and paying the rest of the guys minimum or whatever it is. So it's getting hard. Anybody that's worth their money, it's gonna end up in their own window.
Yeah, so it's kind of like if you are a really good tech, that's a very competitive spot because it's not like they need 20 techs at a dealership. They need one really good one.
And 20 parts changes.
Yeah, and he can diagnose for everybody else, which that seemed like the whole thing with going to the Honda dealership is they just needed the one guy to figure out to be able to read the values on the switch or whatever.
Right, and then hand it off to the next guy that can turn a wrench.
Yes.
Because anybody can turn a wrench.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's basically what it is. But like all of my buddies that were actually half decent at turning wrenches, they all go. Of course, there's always people willing to make you a great offer when they need you. But the minute they don't want to pay that salary and they don't want to pay those benefits. And it's very hard to keep that. So they end up doing their own thing, which most of the time it ends up being better for them because they work at their own pace. They make more money. So that's the way it goes. Then the industry would complain about, oh, we can't get any good techs. Oh, we're shorthanded.
Yeah.
Well, you're paying $30,000, $40,000 a year. But yeah, of course you can't find anyone.
Yeah. And do you think, I'm trying to think of how to, it seems like being able to turn a wrench is no longer enough.
Right.
I mean, it seems like in the past 20 years, I watched where you could turn a wrench and everything revolved around that ability to enter the computer programming and.
Yeah. And it's not, I'd say more than turning a wrench is analyzing the data that tells you what wrench to turn or where to put that wrench. Because like you can give me a set of AC gauges and I can diagnose 90% of the problems. As long as my electronics are in check, 90% of mechanical problems I can diagnose with a set of $50 gauges. I don't need a $10,000 machine. Same thing, temperatures, pressures. I'm probably one of the last few techs that I know keeps an infrared thermometer. Because I can diagnose with that. I know what friction causes heat and shit like that. I can tell you which wheel bearing is acting up, like, temperature readings. I don't have to go and do a test drive. I don't have to go and do all these, funky maneuvers. And it's just using physics to figure out what the car is doing.
So that's like the new version of the old school mechanic with a wooden rod. Yeah, listening.
Yeah, and the funny thing, I still have a stethoscope because there will be times that you need it. And it's kind of, I feel like the new techs that are coming out of school, the ones that go to school, they miss out on all those old school techniques. So then I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm a hybrid. I was taught by an old school tech, but I was working with newer stuff, and I have a little bit of both that I feel made me be very successful in what I do.
And it seems like your age, you were coming up right as that was becoming maybe a little more mainstream. Like for me, I remember that being a brand new thing and it being like, oh, I don't think like I can't do that.
Yeah. So when I started actually turning wrenches,
not that I'm ever a mechanic.
When I started turning wrenches, cars were already computerized, but it was becoming to where everything was becoming digital. More and more things that didn't need to be digital. It was just kind of trendy, and I had to learn how to work with that. So, yeah, I was kind of stuck with that. But at the same time, we still had cars on the road that were carbureted.
Yeah.
So I was dealing with both sides of the coin.
And that leads up to the next question. What changes have you seen since you were in high school?
Everything. I mean,
we just had the electric car discussion today.
Yeah. I remember my dad adjusting carburetors all the the time and
Yeah.
checking spark plugs and checking timing with a light. Like, well, not my dad. My dad wasn't much of a tech, but when I was working with cars, that was one of the things
Yeah.
that was common. When after that, little by little, we just went all computerized.
Yeah.
Everything in a car. Like, I can't tell you the last time I checked timing on a car for a regular service,
Yeah.
unless I was building an engine and assembling it.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. Nobody does that anymore. And back then it was common. I mean, everybody used to put rings and lap valves and slap an engine back together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing we don't do anymore.
I spent a lot of time at that shop on the valve grinding machine.
Yeah.
Just all day grinding valves, and that was my job. Yeah, so we talked about like the changes coming down the road. Subscription based, goodies or luxuries or whatever.
Accessories and yeah.
How do you think, is that going to be good for people that want to go into the business?
I think it's going to steer more and more towards manufacturer repaired vehicles. It's going to hit the aftermarket kind of hard, because if the customer can't touch what he already paid for, just imagine how hard it's going to be for someone that's trying to profit off of somebody else's car.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder. And the only people that are really going to hurt is going to be the customer.
Well, and do you think any of that's attributed to, like, we have less drivers now, right? Like, lots of our students don't even drive, or do you think one is a result of the other, or the other is a result of the first?
I think we have less drivers here because of the cost of driving.
Okay.
But I think overall in the city, we have more drivers than we usually do. So we have more vehicles on the road. But also, like, you go towards Houston, and we have way larger levels of income. So people are taking their cars to a shop all the time for everything.
Yeah.
And they don't mind paying. I mean, if they do, they really feel like they have no choice. So everything's being repaired by a facility versus somebody.
Yeah, mom and pop,
yeah, or somebody opening the hood on the weekend and doing a tune-up, which was common. Growing up, we did tune-ups.
Do you think that, like, it seemed like there was a gap in the 2000s where you had the guys that only turned wrenches, and then they were kind of faced with the overflow of technology? Do you think there will be an adjustment where, like, some of these kids are going to be able to go in and, maybe even do like coding or something for the aftermarket community? Or do you think that, like, the big car manufacturers are just going to eventually win?
I don't think the manufacturers are completely going to win, because part of the aftermarket is doing whatever you want with your car and setting it up the way you want it to be done. But it's not going to be as simple as somebody making changes to their own vehicle. It'll be going through a different source to make aftermarket changes. But yeah, I mean, I know the people that do work on coding more than anything to undo manufacturers' work.
Yeah.
But that's going to be, unless we have the EPA working against people making changes, which they probably are. But yeah, it's still going to happen. Regardless, people are going to want to modify their cars.
It seems like just such a long-term American thing of, putting a sticker on your car, or putting a cold air intake, or whatever that it
changing the mufflers,
putting rims on it. I guess I wonder, is it going to be too, like, knowledge or cost prohibitive that people are going to find something else to do, or is that, like, classic American thing gonna somehow survive?
I think hot rodding is always going to be around, but it will be limited. Versus, like, nowadays, like, I can still go buy a brand new truck. I can still put a lift kit on it.
Yeah.
I can still modify that truck. And for the average American, even though the truck may be $90,000 or $100,000, if you really want it, you can do it.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you and I talk about, like, spending money, but I think that is maybe the nice thing is, like, you probably shouldn't do it,
right?
But you can.
But you can, yeah.
Yeah. If that's what brings you your.
Right, like, I'm not gonna go buy a yacht because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
But
you could.
I could go broke and go buy a yacht, but it's gonna get to the point where your average kid is not gonna be working on his car and making changes on the weekend. That's going to be more of a just like higher tier of hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you foresee a time that kids are going to be doing burnouts in their all electric car, and you're going to be like, instead of like, be quiet, you're going to be like,
I mean, they are gonna
that
be
sucks, because it's just going to be like, scream.
Yeah, it's like a sad thing. Like when I have the kids build an engine in the shop and they hear it run for the first time, and loud noises and smoke, and like they're often excited. What are you gonna do when you have a Tesla and you do something and you fucking
Green light.
green light? Yeah, like yeah, what is that? That's depressing. You know, as far as burnouts, like it's still gonna be a thing, but it's not gonna be the same as just some gas guzzling engine running.
Do you think maybe there was horse mechanics like at the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, and they're like,
Gas engines.
what do you do when you fucking get a horse to breed and it spits out another horse, and you watch that colt take a dump for the first time? I don't get it,
It's always been that way.
I guess it's just maybe.
I still have arguments with guys that get mad about going fuel injected.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking 2020.
Yeah.
And they still want a carburetor because they love their carburetor and you can't beat it and it's so easy to tune.
Yeah.
But I guess me growing up in fuel injection, I'm like, dude, it's fuel injection. It's the easiest thing you can do. It's reliable. It's simple because to me it's simple. Now I'm sure out there's some guy working with Teslas that's like, dude, I can make 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
I don't use no fuel. I can recharge. I can hack the system and this and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything has its time period.
Yeah, time period is I think that's a great word. And you think about, I mean, I'm from like the carburetor era because it's like what was familiar.
Right.
Whereas, it's like fuel injection is still like a black magic or something, like Santeria.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Like you give me a Tesla, like I try to read about it and the things people are doing. There's people modifying them.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, it's too much work. Just give me some fuel injection. Which I'm sure the guy with the carburetor, he looks at a fuel injection system. He's like, that's too much. Give me a carburetor.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything's gonna have its time.
We were sitting at a training and Walsh had some kind of tuner pulled up and was going through and changing shift points and showing me all, and I was
line pressure, shift pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, man, to me, I'm sure to like some kids listening, this is just normal. But to me, that's like, dude, that's.
But it also goes back into like, sometimes I gotta catch myself because, like, the cruise, right? Thinking about this cruise, I'm like, so I open the hood. I know the basics of how the system works. I already know the car is not getting rid of heat as it should. So what's the first thing I'm gonna check? Coolant levels, right? Making sure the cooling system is working. Air conditioning, that's just like a byproduct. It's off to the side right now. The kid that was working on that car, all he's been trained to do, I've worked with engines for a long time. I know how they work. This kid's probably, fresh out of school.
Yeah.
They put him on an AC machine. They said the AC's not cooling, you do an AC service.
Yeah.
You measure how much freon is in it, and so he probably did what he knew.
And that's like that lack of critical thinking of being able to remove yourself from the box that you're in of AC.
Right.
And realize that the AC not working is a byproduct of the engine not being able to cool itself enough.
Because the AC was working.
Yes.
It just wasn't working efficiently because it was heat soaked.
Yeah.
But that kid's probably not an engine guy. So,
yeah.
So if you can't diagnose an engine cooling system, how is he really going to fully diagnose an air conditioning system? They work together.
Yes.
It's 1 and 1. So whenever she told me that it was 100 milligrams low, that's nothing. It still needs to be cooling.
Yeah.
The system is not that precise. But yeah, it's.
So do you think I think probably we already do, but do you think we'll see more of that where like computers are getting so advanced that it's allowing us to think even less, so you don't have to learn how to think?
Definitely. And even it's the same with technicians. We're dumbing down most of technicians because they're going to be able to hook up their scan tool.
Yes.
And the car's going to be like, this hurts, and then the technician will be like, well, we'll change this part and it's done.
Yeah.
Just like I hear it all the time. People are like, I'm going to go get a diagnostics at AutoZone. He's like, no, you're going to go get a code.
Yes. You're going to go get maybe 10, 20, 30 codes.
Right. And then you're going to have to figure out what those codes mean.
Yeah.
But because the guy behind the counter maybe hooked up his scan tool a couple times and he said oxygen sensor, and he put an oxygen sensor in it, and he solved the problem. Now he thinks that's a diagnostics.
Yeah.
That's a lucky guess. Yeah, that's a lucky guess.
Yeah.
It could be 1,000 other things. But yeah, that's what we're doing towards all these techs. But what happens the day that you hook up your little scan tool reader and you get nothing? Like, you have no data, you have no power, you have no voltage. Half of these guys can't even operate a voltmeter.
Yeah.
So then you got to call the old dude in the back of the shop, the one guy that's making a living, like a legitimate living off that business, and then he's gonna come and diagnose that car, legitimately diagnose.
And then even as I've seen you do, of like, you have the machine works correctly, but it's not telling you the answer. You've got to sift through the data to see, like, I guess you would say maybe an irregularity or something and voltage.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like nobody is.
Like if you pull up a graph and you go drive the vehicle, I've done it before. Funny enough, on my ex-girlfriend's other Chevy Cruze, the ABS was engaging randomly. You hit the brakes and it would just. And nobody could figure out, I'm going to burn them, but they try to sell her a transmission and stupid amounts of work, and she needed a wheel bearing. But because I could pull up the data, pull up 4 graphs and watch that voltage drop out of nowhere when you hit a bump, I knew that wheel bearing wasn't reading properly.
So is that like the wheel was moving and it was tricking the sensor or something?
The air gap between the sensor and the reflector was too far when the bearing was shift. So then the ABS thought the wheel was sliding and it would lock up the brakes.
Yeah. Wow.
But they didn't bother to. It took me 20 minutes to diagnose this car.
Yeah.
Bearing was probably $80. And they were trying to sell her a transmission, rotors, pads, blah, blah, blah. Like thousands of dollars. Yeah. And then they still charge a diagnostic. Yeah. And it was wrong, So, for Chevrolet.
And then is it a question of those guys just they aren't provided that training, or is that almost the business model, or it's becoming the business model?
I think it's just bad business ethics, because what they try to do is they try to sell her everything that could possibly be wrong. Yeah. Which they absolutely missed what was legitimately wrong. But if they sell her everything that could possibly be wrong, then let the customer pay for it.
And it's worse than like me trying to throw money at codes, because they're like, hey, let's throw money at codes, but it's not even our money.
Right.
I mean, like,
we're going to guess with the customer's money.
Yeah. And no matter what, we're going to win.
Right. And and the thing with those guys is they'll charge you diagnostics. Yeah. And if they do the work, then they come back and still doing the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. So, love of cars, 300Zs.
Oh, yeah. Totally unreliable. Awesome car. So it was pretty much broken down all the time. Labor rates on that car are stupid high. Like, I remember injectors were like 15 hours to replace injectors, on top of each injector being like $300. And here's like a common thing that went out. So we finally came down to, like, I know I can't afford to keep the car if I have to pay someone. So I'm either going to totally destroy it by trying to fix it myself, or I'm going to have to get rid of it, not running, and get pretty much no money for it. So I took it apart, started messing with it, figured out how to do it, car worked. And after that, everything that came up, I just fixed it myself. And it just kind of trickled down into, I started out with probably the most complicated job on that car. So everything after that felt easy. And it's been like that ever since with a lot of other cars. So.
Necessity is the mother of learning.
Uh-huh.
And that answers our next question, which was, what was your first car?
That piece.
And you still have it?
I still have it.
So how many years have you had it?
I was 14. I'm 30, pretty much 31. 16.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still have my first car in your shop, 65 El Camino. What are you driving now?
A Ford Raptor, another piece
of that's been a great. I mean, what have you had to do to that?
I've replaced the damage from a wreck, and then I've been driving it since.
Yeah.
I complain over nothing. It's just As a truck, it's a piece of shit. Can't carry anything.
But yeah, I mean,
It's just a fancy thing.
yeah, I think that's all they all.
Yeah.
Unless it's a diesel now, it's just a fancy car.
Yeah.
What are you building right now?
Shit. Still working on a 300ZX with the LS. My 67 C10. I got a couple Impalas at Walter Shops that he's technically building. Just another CTSV. Is that it? I think that's it for now.
Yeah.
Bikes back together.
Yeah, bikes back together. Back to education. So, why should students take auto tech? And what kind of student should take auto tech?
Anybody that's not afraid to actually work. It's dirty, it's smelly, it's frustrating. If you don't have patience, this is not the field for you. You don't have to be the brightest as long as you have common sense. But if you're not willing to get dirty and be tired and stinky, and it's going to take a lot of reading because you have to figure out how it works before you figure out how it doesn't. But yeah, we get a lot of kids that seem that they're going to turn a wrench and going to work automatically, and that's not what it is.
They've watched a lot of Fast and Furious movies.
YouTube and Chris Fitz and Scotty Geimer that just screams all day long, doesn't get anything done.
Yeah. Tell me about the Simple Green bath.
Simple Green bath. So that was the thing, the Purple Power or Simple Green, coming home after work and putting a couple cups of the greaser in the bathtub and soaking in that mother, just so I could get the grease off of myself. But that was fun. Probably not the greatest thing for my skin. So
I don't mind. Actually, I don't like sawdust. Like I'm a little princess. I hate being outside and sweating and having sawdust on me. But more than anything, I cannot stand grease. Like, I don't know.
I feel like sawdust, it'll come off of you. Grease was thick, and then it used to not bother me as much, but now I can't stand touching brake fluid.
Yeah.
Brake fluid, it gives me that yucky.
The smell and the viscosity is real weird.
Yeah, like it'll dry out your skin and make it feel funky. Yeah, that's one of the things I hate. And it's funny because I've been like building brake systems for the past few weeks. It's annoying. Yeah.
But that goes back to like, kids are like, oh, I want to do, I like cars, I want to do auto tech.
Yeah.
I like welding, I want to do welding. And you're like, yeah, but that's awesome. And do that and pursue that. But it's work.
It's work.
Like I mean, I guess you can make the same thing for football or anything. Like there is still work. The main bulk of it is work.
Right.
Can you learn to enjoy doing that work?
Yeah.
You think about Carlos or Q-Tip or somebody that comes in with just a really good attitude, a willingness to learn, and they can physically do work.
Yeah. And I feel like with these kids nowadays, they've never had to do physical work.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the demographics. A lot of our kids that live in apartments.
Yeah.
Never had to do yard work. Never had to do housework.
Yeah.
Mom and dad barely washed their own car. They just go through the drive-through. I remember growing up. That's what taught me how to work. Mow the lawn. Sweep the leaves. Wash the cars.
Yeah.
And these kids don't have that, so they're inside all day doing nothing. And you put them in the sun for a couple hours, and they're dead.
Yeah.
They didn't play outside. They didn't ride their bikes. They didn't do any of that stuff.
My friend Corey's going to see this and laugh his off because I'm going to say that I spend a lot of time outside. But comparatively, I would say he's the king of outside and the king of outside working. But he has a whole thing about like anybody that's white that's ever worked for him can't make it past like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He does concrete. But yeah, I mean, maybe not even on the working part, but we were always outside, hot or cold, and we were lucky because if it was hot, we could go to the lake. If it was cold, we could make fires because we were out in the country.
Yeah, but even then, like you tell a kid that, like, hey man, you're gonna get all hot and sweaty, then you're gonna jump in the fucking lake to wash yourself.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, what the? Yeah. Are you nuts? It's.
Man, I've met very few people that will go swim in a pond or a lake.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh yeah, like I'll ride the tube at Lake Conroe. I'm like, dude, it's still a lake. Like,
Yeah.
just the same there.
Yeah.
How has education changed since? So speaking of, how long you've been teaching?
7 years.
7 years. And your plan was 1 year.
My plan was to help Side Ridge finish the semester. Which, as my auto tech teacher told me to try it out, and then it's been 7 years since that one semester. So
Yeah.
I'm still here. Which I'll give it to Miss. She's been an amazing boss.
Yeah, she is.
I feel like if it had been any other school, I would have been gone.
Same.
So she made the job enjoyable.
Yeah.
You know, aside from the kids.
Yeah.
But she made the job enjoyable. It's like she'll support us. She's great. But I'm nowhere near the kind of teachers that I had. Might be a good thing, but I feel like I can't even be direct with my students because.
Yeah. Who was your auto tech teacher?
Roger Simmons.
Roger, and he's retired for a while.
He's been retired for about a year now.
Okay, so he was still teaching while you were teaching.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you like? Like how is he different as a teacher? And obviously it's a different time.
Oh man, he was. And I feel like almost he was like a father figure to me because he was straight up. He when I was up, he would tell me like, "Hey, you're fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Don't do that." He actually put me on the right path. So when I was in high school, he's the one that sent me to go take the real ASE test. So I wasn't just doing the student version. I practiced I took the real ASE test, and I didn't get it because you have to have work experience. But after I got my first job working in the industry, I had already passed the test. As soon as I had enough hours, they sent me a certification.
Yeah.
So he's the one that made me do that. He would always like let me take a part that I had no business taking apart just to see if I could put it back together. So he did really good. He would also I remember he used to make us taste different chemicals and fluids, so we knew what they would taste like, which would be fired if we did that nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally different, very straightforward.
I can tell you the difference between axle grease and like lithium grease.
By licking it.
But 100%. Like,
yeah. So he thought like it's part of the diagnosis process, you know. If I don't know what fluid that is, let me taste it.
Yeah.
Not enough to kill me or make me sick.
Yeah. And not doing it every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Funny, not funny, but side note, a lot of the other instructors that came from the industry are dying of cancer. So we've had like 3 in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just like a side effect of working with cars for so long.
I mean, same thing. You know, if you're doing woodworking and you're in a shop and you're breathing in dust, which we're breathing in dust all the time. If you're outdoors and you're working around treated stuff, I mean, I think part of it is something's going to get you.
Everything's going to kill you.
Yeah. And I would say that there's got to be similarities between you and Simmons because you had Carlos building transmissions.
Right.
Manny got out of here and is doing auto glass, stuff like that wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, so I feel like one of the good things about the program is being able to go into a shop and actually do stuff without the fear of because I would never get mad at a student that up if he's working on trying
100%.
Dude, like as long as you're working, if the car catches on fire, you were doing your best. You're a student. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But when a kid comes in here and fucking around, messing with this, messing with that, but he has no business doing. Dude, out of here. He's got no business doing that.
You know? You break something because you were using it incorrectly, but you thought
like it was a legitimate mistake.
You thought you were doing it right. You just had the method wrong. I'm all for that.
Yeah. But when a kid hasn't shown up to class in 6 months or skips school all the time and doesn't listen to what I'm saying and then just wants to pick up a wrench and mess with something and damages it, then that really should be like vandalism. You can't just walk in and start turning wrenches.
100% it's vandalism.
You have no business in there.
And you're trying to explain to kids of like, hey, this is a job. Well, you don't pay me. no, dude, I'm paying you in knowledge.
Right.
And you cannot put it like, trust me, I'm not getting reimbursed for what I'm giving you.
Yeah.
For the value of what I'm giving you.
Right.
And some of them see that, some of them don't, and maybe some of them see it later on.
Yeah. It was funny. You were talking about earlier today.
Yeah.
Probably the worst student I ever had. Totally hit while he was here. After graduation, he called me and asked me to teach him auto mechanics, but he was no longer a student. I very politely told him to fuck off, and then he went on to tell me how much he regretted not learning, and how much he could use that information now, and how much he needed it, and that I was right.
Yeah. But that's a double lesson for him.
Yeah, he felt like I was being a dick the whole time he was here when I was just trying to teach him.
Yeah.
And then he actually had to go and find a job, and you can't survive with minimum wage, so he went for a technical job, which he needed knowledge for that he did have, and then he regretted not getting it here for free.
Yes, and I think about stupid telemarketers as well. Go away. Like you said about the certification, so the kids can get multiple certifications in here, and technically it doesn't do them any good, but all they have to do is go get the hours,
right? And
then that's completed. And I think that having completed the certification test, even though they don't technically have it, gives them the confidence to go in somewhere.
Well, they take the student version, which work-wise means nothing other than helping you get the job.
Yeah.
But if you take the real test after you get the job and you have, so much experience, then you become certified.
Okay.
So you have to have both the book side of the portion, the deal, and then you have to have hours actually working.
But you might as well do it while you're here anyway. Right. And it's like having I guess like a pre-test where then when you go to take the actual one, you've got nothing.
None of the questions are the exact same fucking questions.
And now you've done it multiple times because you have the work experience.
Right. And not only that, but you're kind of used to the process of testing. Because I remember the first time I did it, I had never been like in a professionally proctored environment, and that's nervous. Like,
yeah.
Like having to go in and check your pockets, and I felt like I was going to jail.
Yeah, you know everything, but still just the scenario, the setup.
Right, and you're somewhere else, and it's totally different. But if you take the practice test, it's both practice and the content and the environment. So it does help you feel more comfortable. Because after that, I would literally go and like redo like 5 ASCs in one day, and it's not a big deal. But I've taken it so many times that it's almost muscle memory.
Yeah. So we talked about like learning, kind of teaching yourself mechanics and stuff. What has teaching taught you?
Dude, patience.
Not me.
It's like I gotta understand that these kids aren't my kids, and as much as I want to treat them like they were, sometimes I want to get on their and yell at them and tell them that they're f***ing up, not to belittle them or hurt them, but to make them understand that, hey, dude, you're f***ing up. You need this. This is gonna benefit you.
Yes.
I'm doing it to help you.
The medicine does not always taste good.
Right. But I can't treat them like that because at the end of the day, they're not my kids, and I can't do that. Because there's, even though my
I don't even know that you would. I know that like being raised in the country, and I think it's still this way. I remember subbing in Waller, and this kid was giving me crap, and then my buddy Ricky, somehow we talked about it, and he knew the kid. And he basically, he didn't beat the kid, but called him out, threw him on the ground.
Right.
And that kid's dad, if he found out, was probably like,
"Thanks for getting my
stop up." Yeah. I mean,
that makes sense too. Yeah.
But I know that in the country, it's more of like a community approach, which I think we lack, maybe being in such a big school, and it's nobody's fault.
Not only that, but I also think we do have parents. It is what it is. They're more worried about being their kid's friend than being a parent, and they're always going to stand up for their kid, whether the kid is wrong or not.
Yeah, you're not teaching the kid; you're just defending.
You're that kid up so much because you're just enabling him to be a. That's all you're doing.
Oh, that's romance time. Trying to tell a teenager, hey, this is going to be unpleasant. It's not going to be fun. And you're not going to appreciate it for a long time. trying to sell them on that.
Yeah.
It's like,
but see, it's like we can tell them that, and I do. 9 out of 10 they'll be like, this guy's just an old man, because I heard that 100 times.
Yeah.
And it's never proven true. But you're also still 17.
Yeah.
Wait until you turn 25 or 30 and you're like, oh.
And that's part of the hard part of being a teacher is you either never see when that switch goes off, or you have to wait years for, maybe one kid to come back and be like, hey, thanks for riding my ass all the time.
One of the things I do with my kids every year is we go over cost of living, which is unrelated to my class, right? But we look up average rent, average bills, and average salaries. So, of course, we're teachers, so our salary is literally what median salary is. And I'm like, look, this is just the middle of the road. I'm not rich, and I mean, technically I am poor, it's inflation, but I'm just an average Joe. I'm a normal guy. If I want to have luxuries, I can't do it with this salary. And then I break down how much money I have to make, how many hours I got to put in. There's a lot of kids think they're going to walk out of here and buy that bus truck, or they're going to buy that Hellcat, and they're going to have the house and this and that. And I'm like, dude.
Or they walk out of here and get the job doing whatever, but they don't understand how money works, and they do buy the Hellcat. And then we hit a recession and they lose everything, and you're like, dude, you're still poor. I mean,
dude, I had kids when I teach them about financing cars, which I had to learn through my parents. I've never financed a car. I bought somebody's and made one. But interest rates and terms and this and that, and I explained it to them. And then some kids go home and be like, hey, Mom, what's our interest rate?
Yeah.
And then they're like, holy, you're really paying 25%?
Yeah, jeez.
96 months?
Yeah.
And then they talk about it. But then at least now when that kid goes to buy a car, the first place he goes into, if they say 20%, he walks out. He'll know that.
Yes.
It's they'll understand a little more.
How badly do you need that right now?
Right.
Or how badly do you need that option?
They'll give you the Hellcat, and just because they gave you the keys and you signed that paper doesn't mean you can afford it.
Yeah.
That just means they're willing to give it to you till they go and pick it up again.
Yeah, and you're until you own it, you're renting it.
Right. It's not your car until you get
it's not yours.
Little piece of paper,
All right, so we're gonna stop real quick, and we're gonna have a dad joke. All right. How do you follow Will Smith in the snow? You look for the fresh prints.
Oh.
Okay. Motivation. How do you motivate yourself?
I got bills to pay.
Yeah, you work out and you meal prep. How do you? Where does that come from? Or even like your projects. I see you make lists and you're saving money to get this. So how do you do that?
Okay. What's going on?
This is our Officer Brooks right here. It's gonna keep us safe, hopefully.
Brother from another mother.
That's right.
Trey Ward. All right, good luck to you, fella.
Appreciate it. No, you're good.
But I don't know. I guess my motivation on projects, it just comes in surges. That's why I gotta have my ADHD. I gotta have different things going on. Sometimes I feel like riding my bike. Sometimes I want to build a little truck. Sometimes I want a fast car. Sometimes I want, it's.
I have this argument with Leo because he's like, if you'd stick to one thing, and I'm like, if I stick to one thing
is not fun. One thing feels like what?
Yeah, then I'll stop. I won't do it.
Yeah.
I'll stop for 6 months and then I'll pick it up. So, and I know I'm making excuses right now, but is there also a sense of truth to that of like, the El Camino, like I'm not stopping the El Camino, but I also haven't touched it in 5 months.
Right. I think for me, it's like I do plan a lot. And when I go to build something, I look at my budget. So, like I've been doing brakes, right? I've been doing Brembo brakes on my cars or wood on the truck. I go into my budget. So I'm like, all right, so look, I'm going to spend $1,000 building some brakes. But then if I wait, I might come across a better deal. So then I'll buy the calipers, and then I'll wait and I'll get a good deal on the rotors. And then I'll have everything together. And then I'll start that project.
You're super patient when it comes to that. I've seen that over the years, and man, you're like a savant with with deals.
It's just
Because I'll sit like all night long and I won't sleep, and I'm like, should I buy the $150 front tire for my bike, even though I'm never going to ride this bike and I'm not going to ride it aggressively, but it looks cool? And then I'll just argue with myself, and then finally I'm like, cheaper is better, and I get the cheaper set, and inevitably I probably regret it.
right, but then you see the thing is with me, like I'll buy the cheaper set, right? Let's say I do go that route, and my car's not even running, so they're gonna sit in storage
Yeah,
until what, another 6 months to a year.
I got a brand new set of tires sitting in the.
Well, in the meantime, I could just be keeping an eye out for a good deal,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
come across for something that's half the price.
But like, as much as I tell the kids of, don't do that.
It's about instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
As soon as I have that money in my pocket, I'm like, dude, this money's not gonna last long. I gotta get it out of my pocket.
Right.
And
Well, like I do a thing where I don't keep my money where I can see it. So I budget myself. I put like every paycheck, right? Every 2 weeks, I'll put $500, and they're going to go into this account, and that's the card I carry. I mean, of course, I carry my other cards
Yeah.
like in the back of my wallet.
Yeah.
But I go to this account, and that's the money I spend. If I want to order something, they come out of a separate account that I'd rather not look at, but I like to always imagine that it's empty.
yeah.
Because if it's, at the end of the month, I go and I check that account, and, I might think like, oh, there's probably another, $800 or $1,000 in it. I'm like, oh, no, I still got $2,500.
Yeah.
Or $2,300. I barely touched it. Because I've done it where I like run everything off of one account, and I know it's there. And so if I come across something I like,
Bam.
done.
Yeah.
Right? Where I'm like, dude, I could have ordered online, or I could have shopped around,
Yeah.
or I could have bought a used one and rebuilt it, and saved half the money. And a lot of these fucking projects, dude, they're gonna sit for a year. You can't tell me that you need that one part right now.
You're 100% right. And I remember Cody starting the Mustang and you being like 3 years, and he was like, nah, and I was like, I remember saying that.
Yeah.
So
See, but like I told Cody from the beginning, I was like, you're jumping around.
Yeah.
It's okay to buy the parts if
Yeah.
you come across a good deal.
Yeah.
But don't take this apart and take that apart.
Yeah.
Dude, he's got a half torn down rear end that he never put together.
Yeah.
He just bought his second engine, still has
Yeah.
third engine.
Oh, Cody.
Like, nothing wrong with that because those were deals, but he's jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, he got lucky he sold that big block,
Yeah.
but he was about to lose money on it.
Yeah.
Because he did instant gratification. I have the money.
Yeah.
There's the thing I want. I'm going to go buy it.
And no offense, Cody. It was painted and pretty.
Yes.
Which
Shiny.
Yeah, it was shiny object, which we're all, we're all guilty of.
At the end of the day, he ended up getting the original engine that he really wanted
Yes.
for free.
Waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Waiting. And that's the way it goes. Like when I sold the Brembos, somebody really wanted those Brembos, and it was for a toy car. It was not an emergency.
Yep.
So he wanted it. He paid $1,000 over what they usually go for. I took those $1,000. I got brakes for the C10, brakes for the Z, rotors. I got a bunch of shit just from the profit that I made off of that. And now I can wait. There's no rush.
And just from being patient.
Just from being patient.
Yeah.
Versus that guy not being patient and really wanting something.
Should kids be motivated by teachers, parents, society, or themselves?
I don't think kids are ever going to be motivated by an external factor. If they're not motivated from within, like, of course, we can expose them to those things that are going to light a fire under their ass, but we can't motivate anyone.
Yeah.
We can expose them to
the spark has to be under their butt already.
Yes, we can expose them to things that might motivate them. Like, one of the things with me, like, I have had kids that tell me that school doesn't matter because they don't have papers, so there's nothing they can do, even if they do go to college. And when I'm like, dude, I remember when I used to say that because I didn't have papers. And they're like, well, you don't have to do that. And they're like, oh, well, you're my teacher now. And they're like, you have cars, you have a house. Like, so that means that I can also do it, Or like kids that come in here and their mom is struggling to buy a car, or their car broke down and they have that one car for the family. And they're like, oh, like 7 cars. So I'm like, yeah, well, that piece up off for $500. That one I paid $1,000 for, and so I fixed it as I went, and now they just sit there in case I ever do need another car or my mom needs a car. or something like that. And to them, they're like, whoa, like this guy like just figured out the loophole for free transportation.
Yeah, it's called hard work.
Yeah.
Dedication and hard work. Show up every day.
So some of those kids, like, they might be motivated by that. Just like the kids that were buying their cars from Copart.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, they're students that have no idea what kind of risk they're taking.
Yeah.
They bought a wrecked car, fixed it here, of course, because it's free to have me here. You have guidance. I can tell you how to fix the car, where to buy the parts for cheap, where to get the best deal, how to paint it, how to put it together. And the next thing you know, they're driving out of high school with a truck that's paid for.
Yeah.
It's finished, and they put it together so if something down the road does happen to break, they know exactly what to do.
They can turn around and sell it. They've got confidence that spills over into other areas of their life. I mean, it's that whole like trying to explain to anybody why you should learn to learn.
Right.
Why you should learn to think. Why you should, it's back to the air conditioner versus the engine overheating. They seem unrelated, and oftentimes they are totally unrelated.
Yeah.
But when you have the broader base knowledge, you start connecting things that other people aren't connecting.
Yeah. And then it's also when you work your finances, like when you go buy a house, they tell you that your house should only be 30% of your income because you have other expenses and this and that. When you think about a note on that Tundra, to go buy that Tundra, your note is probably going to be $500 alone, plus your insurance, another $200.
Yeah.
So you're looking at $700 a month. I think the kid paid like $5,000 back when the market was good.
Yeah.
But if you factor in that this kid's probably making $2,000 a month, if his drug note's going to be $700, how much money does he have to live on?
Yeah.
Versus that kid, he took his graduation gift, bought a truck, fixed it, put it together. Now it's paid for. The only thing he pays for is insurance, and now he doesn't have to have full coverage. It's just liability.
Yes.
If he wants. But he can probably do my salvage cars. I get rid of them because either somebody hits me and totals them, or because I get tired of them.
Yeah.
It's not because they break down or they're unreliable. That Cadillac I've been driving for 3 years. Your
Grand Marquis. I just replaced the battery and it turned out to be 8 years old or 7 years old.
Yeah, so you think about the amount of money we pay for these cars versus how long we've been driving them. What's our actual cost?
Yeah.
Versus let's say I spent $5,000 on that Cadillac. That sounds high. I can probably sell that car for $30,000.
Yeah.
So how much money did it really cost me?
Yeah, I've done the math before, like on an average mileage, and it was like, $1 or $2 a day or something.
Yeah.
At the point where I was at 3 years.
Exactly.
And I could still sell it, even though it's the paint's going bad and stuff. Could probably sell it for more than
you initially paid for it.
Yeah.
So you think about that kid that's going to go to, or maybe that kid thought he couldn't afford college. Maybe he couldn't afford college before when he was factoring in a car note.
Yeah.
Now you think about, I have an extra $500 in my pocket a month. Dude, that's books
a course
and tuition.
Yeah, exactly. That's a course at Lone Star.
Yeah.
And back to the instant gratification, it took me. My friend Ricky was making fun of me the other day because I was like, like the 4 years of college, and he was like, you mean like the 10 years? And I was like, whatever. I was like, it was 4 total.
I'm going on 12. I'm about to go down,
devil's in the details. But that being able to set a goal and be like, I'm going to plug away at this a little bit at a time.
And I think a lot of it is like, I noticed that as I get older, it's the less fun I give. But when I was younger, you wanted to have the cool stuff so people
100%. Yeah.
The older I get, I'm like, dude, I don't give what other people think. I'm going to do what I want.
I go through phases of driving the truck where like Ellen and I will be kind of giggling driving, and I'm like, I feel like we're rich,
Yeah,
she's like,
that's
we're rich. And then sometimes it's like it's a thing. Like
Dude,
it doesn't matter.
When I bought that Raptor, I was like, I'm not gonna put a single scratch in this truck. I'm gonna keep it brand new, blah blah blah. And then I don't know what happened, where I didn't have the Silverado for a day, and I had to go to Home Depot, and I was like, you know what? Throw it in the back.
Yeah.
Now it's a work truck.
Yeah. 20 sheets of sheetrock
20 sheets of
and
plywood. Yeah. And now it's
broken
just,
tile and cabinets and
It's just, and it's been 5,000 miles difference that I've driven it before when it was a collector's item.
Yeah.
So now it's a work truck. Just one day I woke up and I was like, dude, if a collector wants it, he's gonna buy it.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be like a high-end item, it's gonna be a high-end item.
And is there a certain amount of freedom in that, like that you could learn when you're younger of like, yeah, you can want things and you can put in the effort to pursue it, just don't take it so seriously.
Exactly. Like there's that freedom of like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
If this truck burns to the ground, it's a truck.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, get another one or something else will come along or whatever.
Because I can't tell you how many times I wanted a car so bad and I just couldn't sleep and I had to have this car and it's the best thing in the world and I have to have it and I won't ask for anything else ever again. And then I get that car and 2 weeks later I'm just like, dude, it's just a car.
I talk with the kids about that of like making all the money on the movie sets and making all the money when I was working with Adam. And then if you just go blow it and it felt so, look how cool I am, look how much money I have. And then on the way home, you're like, now I just have less money. Like,
yeah. Well, like you get that one car that you thought was amazing, like, hey, this Raptor. And like, yeah, it's cool. It's a good off-road vehicle. I mean, we drove it back here. But when I use it for what I need it to do, fucking be a truck.
It's a truck.
It's not half the truck my Dorado used to.
Yeah.
And
or the GMC.
Or the GMC.
Yeah.
You put any weight in the back of that Raptor, mom, going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just useless. It's a toy. Like I was so headstrong that I wanted that Bentley. I wanted a Bentley for years, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get the Bentley. And then what me over is I was that close to getting the Lamborghini.
Yeah, I remember.
And then once I'm like, dude, if I can get a Lamborghini, why the fuck do I want a Bentley?
Yeah.
So now I look at a Bentley and I'm like, yeah.
It's never ending.
Yeah, I was just like, now I want Lamborghini.
It's like if you can get to the point where you realize that there's always a one-up, then all of a sudden everything in reality becomes worthless. It's only worth what you attribute to.
Right. And the other thing is, once you have it, it just evaluates so fast because the chase is over.
Yes.
You're done.
Yeah.
Dude, when I wanted a house so bad, and this and that, and I get the house, and I'm like, it's just
then you destroy the whole house to remodel it.
Remodel it, and then now I'm getting done with the remodeling. I'm like, what the fucking do, But yeah, it's instant gratification, and we get that urge that we have to have it and we need it. We don't.
I wonder if that's like like we would have to hunt an animal and track this animal for 2 days, and then you finally get the animal and you eat the animal and you're like, all right, I'm hungry again. Like, do you think that's we're so comfortable that that's in our DNA?
No, I definitely think that's part of it, but I also think it's you have to stay hungry.
Yeah, you do have to stay hungry.
You have to stay hungry. It's like I almost feel guilty sometimes because I have 3 Cadillacs. I can only drive one car at a time.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I didn't want those Cadillacs, would I really get up and go to work? Would I come home after work and then think about the next thing I'm going to do to make money?
Yeah, we're in this rat race, and it's a rat race.
Yeah.
But even once you realize it's literally a rat race, you're still, you have some kind of need to get the cheese.
Yeah, and then it's, I feel like there's nothing wrong with wanting more, so long as you don't get lost in that.
Yes, yeah.
But you also can't let yourself be content with what you have because you can always do better, And to me, like, part of it is not, I have more than plenty for me, but there's always people around me that need help.
Yeah.
And I want to be there. Like, if my mom calls me for something, or my sister. Like, right now, my sister needs a car. So I'm going to start shopping around. But I don't want to be that person that gets a phone call and can't help.
Yeah, man, I wish I could help you. I got nothing.
Yeah. I'll probably still give you a hard time because I want you to get your own together.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I want to take care of the people around me.
And what's the percentage of society that doesn't even realize that they are the answer to their own problems?
Do it a lot.
And so I was going to ask, what's holding kids back these days? And I would say that that's probably...
I feel like a lot of them are not in touch with reality because their parents are babying them.
Yeah.
Dude, half of these kids that are like living in severe poverty don't know that they're poor.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great point.
You know, they still have their iPhone, they still have their Jordans.
Yeah.
They're
getting their haircuts every
they still
2
think
weeks.
they're normal, and I'm like, dude, you've been evicted. You know, you're considered homeless. You know? They're like, yeah, so I got the new J's. Like, no, dude, like anybody.
You're living a lie.
Yeah, you're living a lie, but mom and dad don't want the kid to get hurt, and I can see that, I understand that, but you gotta be honest with the kids, man. Like, hey, man, I need you to go to school. I need you to do better than we did, right? And stuff like that. But
my mom bought me Kmart shoes one time in like 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, and I begged her not to. And dude, shoes weren't even a thing yet, right?
Yeah.
I remember, like, before I even got off the bus, somebody was like, "Oh, dude, look at his shoes," you know. And I mean, of course, looking back now I'm like, whatever, dude. But I get where kids are coming from at that point, because you want the pure acceptance.
Right.
But if we could somehow get through to half of them of like, it's a game, man. You're in a game. We're all in a game.
Right.
But you're really in the game.
But then you also have to think about how money is a game, because everybody wants something, right? And if you can find what that is, you can sell it to them. I don't care what it is. It can be drugs, it can be cars, it can be houses, it can be clothes, it can be art. Kids that sell candy in school.
Yeah.
The kids have candy that's not available for sale at school. You can mark that up to whatever you want it to be. And some guy might be like, I'm not paying $5 for a Snicker.
That's okay.
Somebody will.
Yep.
Right. So
the other 20 guys will.
Dude, when they figured it out, and like even me right now, like I just I do a lot of car work for free. Dude, a lot. And I'm just like,
oh no.
It's like, if I have my line of customers, which I probably have a handful of customers that are paying $150 an hour, but every 3 jobs that I do, I only charge one customer. Why don't I just charge everyone $75 an hour?
Yeah.
And one, it's cut my time open, because a lot of people don't think I'm worth $75 an hour, even though other people are willing to pay $150.
Yeah.
And then now, instead of working 10 hours in a weekend, I'm working 5, and I'm still making more money. You know. But it's just finding that market and understanding that someone's willing to pay. There's people that are willing to pay more just because they want me to do the work. You know,
and the disconnect, like we're talking about the kids not being connected to reality, the disconnect of adults to reality. You look at the freeze and how, like, people, the single greatest purchase you'll ever make, they have no idea how it works, right? They know nothing about their house. Mm-hmm. And I see the same thing, like in remodeling, where they're like, well, you know, it would cost this much to do a whole new addition. You're like, yeah, because you're starting from, I mean,
right.
This is how things work. Things cost money.
Yes.
No, I'm not making something new. I'm taking something old apart and fixing it.
Yeah, and then now you have to work around this, and you have to work around
and I don't
that.
know what's inside of there. Just like on a car, like I bring you the car. This is wrong with it. You get in there and realize with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. So that's why I hate taking cars that somebody's already fucked with. Because I'd rather you told me, like, my car broke down today, one start, here you go. Versus this mechanic took it apart, and that guy messed with this. And, you know, but yeah, it makes sense, dude. Like, I have a lot of kids that just figure out things to do, and they make good money. You know, they don't have to go to college, or they don't have to follow that path that everybody says, but they figured out that it's doable.
Ellen's got a student that's a senior this year, or he might have graduated this past year. But while he was in a high school, running crews for yard work.
Mm-hmm. Remember Diana?
Yes.
The girl with the Tahoe?
Yep.
Told her parents, I don't want a graduation gift. Buy me a trailer and some lawn equipment. Yep. Dude, that girl's going to college, and her crews are paying for it.
Yes, and she's, to be clear, she's not working.
She's not working, right.
She's managing.
Yeah.
Which is another one that I talk to kids about, of like, why should you learn this? Why should you learn that? Because later on when you're working and your coworker is going, well, our manager, he doesn't need to.
Right.
All he needs to do is manage you.
Yeah. That's his job.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you don't have to like it, but.
Yeah, but then we also going back to Diana, talk about the disconnect, because she had that older Tahoe. Her parents offered her a brand new car. She didn't mind driving an old truck because she don't give a f***.
She did not. Yep.
You know, she was that kind of. She's like, look, I've already worked on this truck. I know how to keep it running. Why would I buy a new one that I have to relearn?
Yeah.
You know, and then pay someone to work on?
Yeah.
where I could just get the trailer and make money from that.
She's going to be like your friend that owns the restaurants.
Yeah.
You know, where you don't know it by looking.
Definitely, because she actually lives in a house that's smaller than mine.
Yeah.
She makes millions. Well, she drives an F-150, dude, and
Yeah.
total millionaire.
Trying to explain to the kids of like, if you make $100,000 a year, you spend 90, you're poor.
Yeah.
All right, bonus question. What are you listening to? This should be interesting with you.
Oh, sure.
What are you listening to these days? So name 3 artists and why we should be listening to them.
Ice Cube is always going to be on the list.
I've recently noticed that you listen to a lot of Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Like I hear you listen to older rap,
Yeah.
but I've noticed you
So
like Ice
older
Cube.
West Coast rap is always going to be somehow in the list. A lot of Marca Registrada, which is like, I guess they're more popular now, but I've been listening for a while. Just Mexican like corridos.
Okay.
I like him. And it just I was like,
What's the Colombian guy that's coming to town?
oh, he was supposed to be here. He canceled. Blessed.
Blessed?
Yeah, Colombian rap.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like hip hop rap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. He got me into that. Colombian hip hop. But yeah, it's just when it comes to music, I'm all over the place. Dude. Like,
You are. We'll go from classic country to gangster rap to corridos to
fucking
electronica
Japanese
to
funk.
yeah.
Yeah, fucking. At night, it's weird, but like I put on classical music to go to sleep. And
Yeah.
Michelle trips out because I'm all over the fucking place. So
Yeah.
I put on like some real old school like Spanish oldies, and she was like, dude, like.
Oh, what was the? It's the Sonido or something. It was an old group. There's a poster of them at the recycling place. It's like a huge, maybe 70s or 80s. I'm gonna have to drive there now and find it.
Yeah, we gotta find it.
What's your favorite tool at the moment, or brand? Doesn't have to be a specific tool.
Dude, I like Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I've been a
impressed.
diehard Snap-on fan my whole life. I gave Snap-on over $100,000 while I was working in the industry. But when I started using Milwaukee and you compare the quality to the price, some of these Milwaukee tools are better than Snap-on. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know Snap-on's a sponsor to the program, but. But yeah, the Milwaukee for the price you can't beat it. Reliability, good tools, good quality, warranty.
And they're not making near the. It's not like they're doing mechanics tools to the extent that Snap-on is. Yeah,
right
but
now
Snap-on has.
They just make power tools, and it
Yeah.
used to be the kind of shit you find at Home Depot, and now it's going more into the mechanical field.
Yeah.
It's some good shit. And I dropped my impact from probably 20 feet, and picked it up, went right back to work, didn't even crack. Good shit.
What benefits do students have that you or I didn't
Here,
anywhere?
the amount of chances they're given.
It's true, yeah.
I mean, when I was in auto tech, I had kids that got kicked out for opening the door and going inside a car before they were allowed to.
Yeah.
You know, or they would get caught with weed, and automatically they'll be out of the program. You went to ALC, automatically out
Yeah.
of the program.
I remember those days.
Here, you can have a full-on felon at 15, and you're still letting them be in the shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're putting them in here with power tools. The amount of chances they get is ridiculous.
We were talking about, you were saying, like the kids like, well, I don't have papers, so why should I go to college? Tell me about the American dream. Is it alive or dead?
Oh, I think it's definitely alive. It just has different. It just has a different.
Just like the cars.
Yeah.
It's like we're in a new phase almost.
Like it's weird to think that to a lot of people from my old neighborhood, I'm rich. You know.
A lot of the kids, they're like, man, you're rich.
Yeah. Like you have a house, you have a truck, you have a car. You got a truck and the car. You know, you're rich. You live in a house.
Yeah.
You're rich. You know. And I'm just like, nah, dude. Like, I guess like as far as like my parents' idea of the American dream, of owning a home and having a good job and an education, like that stuff. You know, I did that. But to me, that seems like the norm. Now my dream is bigger, and hopefully my kids' dreams are going to be even bigger than that.
It's like being a parent.
Right. You know, it's just gonna keep growing.
And you said earlier about like you don't have to maybe need all the stuff, but you should have the mindset of I can improve.
Yes. You know, like when I bought my house, I definitely didn't need a house that big. But when I looked at the price, it was below my price range, which like I had a certain amount I wanted to pay for my one-story house. And then I came across that deal, which I was like, well, I get way more square feet for less money. It's still in a nice area.
Yeah.
And worst comes to worst, if I want to sell, I'll make a profit.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like a lot of people don't realize that even though I do blow most of my money on cars, I can turn around any day, sell any of those cars for more than I'm putting into it.
Yeah. And the house.
Right. It's a hobby, but at the end of the day, it's an investment.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the wisest of investments, but it's an investment. It's not like I'm buying Jordans.
It's the funnest of investments.
Yeah, especially when you're driving through a bayou. Do you remember a Volkswagen? I bought it for $800. Drove it around the front, wrecked it.
Oh, the Golf.
Yeah.
Yes. Fucking Jacoby with you?
Yeah, wrecked it the same day. Turned around and sold it for more than
$1,200. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, dude, you can't tell me that. Listen, I was paid to destroy a car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's maybe it's not the most profitable, but it's definitely an investment.
You've got a 15, 16-year-old kid. He's got a part-time job working at Home Depot. He's making money. What should he be spending his money on? Or it's a loaded question, but how do you tell him, or would it be better to buy tools or shoes? Or could it be both?
I think you always have to keep yourself satisfied to an extent. I went a lot of my younger years without treating myself to nice stuff. And looking back, it didn't need to be that way. There's always a balance. Buy yourself a pair of shoes, buy yourself some tools, you know, if you're into tools.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
You know, if you're into computers, buy a computer you can learn from. You know? And then buy yourself some shoes, you know, go out, you know, have fun. Don't kill yourself trying to make something happen overnight. But also don't just let it go to waste.
Yeah, don't kill yourself trying to make it happen overnight, and don't kill yourself trying to be a part of the game.
Right.
On the other side of spending.
Yeah, understand that it's all a game.
Yeah.
You know, like, this dude I see, like when we go to the clubs pretty frequently, right? And I see guys buying $300, $400, $500 bottles of liquor that are only worth $50. And I'm not saying we don't do that, because we do, you know. But we also know that the only reason we're paying $500 for a bottle is because we got this chick we want to impress.
Yeah.
You know, it's
a game.
It's a game, you know. And it's really pointless, but, you know.
Yeah, you're not patting yourself on the back as you do.
We know it's stupid. You know, like I go back home with my buddy Lewis, and I'm like, dude, $1,000. Like,
yeah.
You know, yeah, we know that. But every once in a while, have fun. Just, I used to know guys that would go broke just to pop bottles on. It's stupid, dude. Like, you don't have the money, don't have the money. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, where they could have taken that money, done something that would like an investment.
Yeah.
And then just take a little bit of the profit and go have fun one weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all a game.
Why become a mechanic or a technician? What's the difference between the two?
Mechanics, I don't know if we have many mechanics anymore, but I feel like the mechanic used to be that guy who would, you know, change the points in the distributor, spark plugs. He would do a mechanical function. I see it as not he's working on mechanics, but he's mechanical. Takes this, puts it here. Takes this, puts it here. Zero thinking into the process. This is just what I'm doing. A technician is going to take data from the car, make a critical decision, and then make a repair using data and information and previous knowledge. He's technical. The other guy's mechanical. You know, he's just taking this, putting it here.
Yeah.
Big difference, especially the amount of money you can make. Because a guy that's not smart enough to make a critical decision is probably not smart enough to use that money or ask for more money. You know.
Or if you're working on flag hours and you're wasting hours.
Right.
Like we were talking about earlier, like throwing money at it.
Yeah. So when I was funny, you said when I was at Midas, we used to do a fleet of E250 vans. Every van was about 300 of them. Had the same engine, had the same transmission, had the same common problems, right? I was salary at the time, but we had a tool cart that was available to any mechanic that had all the tools and all the common parts for that truck. We know there's always motor mounts, rear main seals, and transmission lines, because the motor mount would go out, it would sit on the transmission line, cut it, and it would get towed in, and inevitably we would look at it and it had a rear main seal leak every time. So that truck had the parts, and I was actually, that's when I told Jerry about Rock Auto, and I was like, dude, buy 100 motor mounts, because they're $50 on O'Reilly, but we can get them for $10 a piece. Just buy 100 of them, keep them in stock, we put enough of them.
Yeah.
And do the amount of money. I think that year we made over $1 million.
Wow.
On fleet repair. But yeah, so that was critical thinking when we had a cart that had all the tools for this van ready to go. The minute that van pulled in, that transmission was out of the truck within 45 minutes. You know, we had guys that were, you had the technician on the van. He was scheduled to work that day, but he had to go drop off the van first. Wait for, that was before Uber too, so he had to wait for someone else to come pick him up, take him back to the Sears headquarters, or whatever it is now. And then they would come pick him up, drop him off at the end of the day to come get his van, but that guy lost a day of work.
Yeah.
Versus when we had the system going, he would pull in at 7 o'clock in the morning. That van was on the ground and ready to get back to work by 9.
Yeah.
And that was with 8 hours of flag.
Yeah, just bam, bam.
Just done.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just, we never took money. Like, I knew a lot of shops that do fleet, that they'll bill shit without doing it. We never did that. You know, we actually did the work, but we had such a good system that,
Yeah.
that if that van was scheduled to work that day, we would have that van back on the road in 2 hours. We didn't give the guy enough time to call a ride. It was done. But then again, that's how we got that, you know, the $1 million in fleet service.
Yeah. What were you trying to buy all of the other day? You were telling me something. Triumph parts or something.
Stators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't Triumph. It was something else.
It was a Honda one.
Okay.
It'll work on the Triumphs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're usually like $400. They were $25. Yeah.
But
so
the guy was like, hey.
He's like, why is this guy buying all of them? You know, fucking a pallet full of them. Why is he trying to get all of these? And then he did some research and realized that they were $400 a pop. And he sold the $400. I was like, God.
Almost.
I should have bought 10 at a time.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so mechanic, technician, given the push towards everything going to electric, or if not electric, computer controlled.
Right.
Is the mechanic still, is he going extinct?
No, I think it's just definitely going to change. Because regardless, these cars they're still going to have brakes and ball joints and tie rods and all of those things that a regular car has. So we're still going to need that guy under the car. Other than that, all the repairs are going to be highly involved. Like the new Audis, if you hit a pothole, you bend the tie rod, you replace the tie rod. By the time you're done, for one tie rod, it's about $2,500. Because now you have the automated driver assist, you have to redo the alignment, the reprogramming, the relearning, the tie rod. If your tires are more than 230 seconds away from each other, then you have to put 40 tires on the all-wheel drive system before you align. So just think about it. Which is, people aren't going to be able to afford cars.
That's what I was going to say.
Salaries aren't going up, you know. GPA is not going up, but the cost of living is. Well, not the basic cost of living, but any kind of luxury. They used to be able. When I was growing up, my parents, both illegal immigrants, both working like very low income jobs, they drove BMWs and Lexuses, and not older ones. They drove because one of my parents taught me to pay cash and negotiate in cash.
Yeah.
But they were able to be like, dude, I really like that new Beamer. Let's call that guy and see if he wants to take $25,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Because you used to be able to buy a 1-year-old BMW for $25,000 or $30,000 in cash.
And you're saying just because of like depreciation?
Well, yeah, the one that they depreciate bad. But even that, I remember the newest one they bought. They never bought a brand new one, but they bought one that had like 10,000 miles. Like the car was barely driven, and they paid $30,000, roughly $30,000 in cash. Dude, you try to go buy a brand like something that's, you know, that old.
Yeah.
With $30,000 in cash, it's not enough.
Yeah.
And the dealerships are getting so smart that a lot of times they'll turn away cash.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had that problem when I was buying my first truck. That's when I saw it starting. We were going to the small dealerships, and we saw the truck that I wanted us to wear.
They want to finance. That's the only way they're going to make money.
Cash,
yes.
Because that was the.
Yeah.
A lot of times we walk in there and we would ask for a price on a truck. They wouldn't even give you a price.
Yeah.
Because the price varies depending on your credit score.
Yeah.
And then that's how they get the interest rate. And so we would always be like, no, I just need a price. We're paying in cash. Like, we don't do cash sales. So either you finance it or you get a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, who would have ever thought that it would get to the point where somebody's putting cash in front of your face and you say no?
Yeah.
But they're so smart, They sell to low-income people, where either they're willing to pay a stupid amount of interest because they have no choice. I mean, of course, they always have a choice to buy something cheaper. Or they're going to get repossessed and they're going to pick up that truck and they're going to sell it 3 times over before anybody actually owns it.
Yeah.
It's just the fucking system. That's the way it is.
Man.
It's tough, man. You gotta get kids to be more financially literate.
Yeah. And so that's a irritation of mine is the kids that say, well, I didn't learn anything in high school. I didn't learn anything valuable in high school. I'm like, all right. Well, I mean, aside from the fact that you learned how to read, you learned how to write. They're like, well, I didn't learn how to balance a checkbook. And I'm like, you have a supercomputer in your hand.
Phone, yeah.
They Google how to balance a checkbook. And they're like,
oh,
nah.
I have to do it. Yeah.
Like, nah, I gotta.
Dude,
is it on TikTok?
Dude, I have a lot of people that call me with car questions, and sometimes I just send them a video or a write-up on how to check this.
Yeah.
They're like, oh.
I sometimes I'm in the middle of texting you and I'm like, just go to Google, dude. And I'm like,
I never went to school for mechanics, right? I mean, they're self-taught. I don't want to say self-taught because I didn't teach myself. There was a lot of really good guys on forums. And they basically walked me step by step. But I had to read. And then I had to go outside and grab a wrench and try this and measure that and come back and be like, dude, this is the reading I got from the multimeter. And,
what does this mean?
Yeah, they helped me, but I did the work.
Yeah.
I do that to a kid or not kids, grown adults that call me and be like, hey, my car won't start. I'm like, well, take a voltmeter and get a reading off the battery.
Yeah. It says 10.
Yeah, or they'll be like, oh, I have to go get a voltmeter? I have to do that?
Yeah.
It's just like, one, because people just expect me to come over and do it. That's what I usually do. But, man, some of them are getting lazy.
Yeah.
It's bad.
10 years from now, what's your call? What percentage is electric?
10 years from now, 50%.
50%?
Yes.
Right.
So someone will always be fighting back. I think we're going to go to where probably 8 out of 10 cars on the road are hybrid.
Okay.
And then half of them are fully electric.
Yeah. For kids that either want to work on cars or they're just into car culture, they want to build, what should they learn in school? Or does it matter?
Math, for one. Funny enough is I always see the memes about Pythagorean theorem. I use that all the time.
Dude.
All the time.
My buddy Corey is like, that formula is why I have everything I have.
And I was like, you don't understand. Like, I build a lot of shit. You look at my cars, they have parts from all different kinds of cars. And I don't buy brackets. I don't buy adapter kits. I make it.
Yeah.
Because it's cheap. I'll buy a piece of aluminum and start making brackets. But you have to learn how to measure, how to read, and more importantly, how to have craftsmanship. Anything you do, you have a science project, make that look good. Have an art project, take a little extra time and make it look good. Half of the work I see out in body shops, look at the paint coming out of the body shop, and I'm surprised people pay for it. Bondo here, Bondo, you're gonna use it, but noticeable Bondo is bullshit, not matching, shit not fitting.
Now every old car I see, the only thing I look at is body lines and fender fitment.
Yeah, and
I'm like, God damn, you ruined it for me.
Yeah, and you look at, I hope he doesn't catch on, but I have buddies that are buying $1 million houses, and I look at the inside of the houses.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, you paid him. I'll be calling the builder right now.
Yeah.
But to them, I guess because people are so used to shit craftsmanship.
Yeah.
You know,
Our friends just bought a lake house on Conroe, and they're still going through the punch out. And he's got little pieces of tape everywhere.
do that.
And I'm like, dude, for that much money,
Yeah,
there'd be.
perfect. You know,
They had done something where there was some kind of miscommunication, but they had selected the options to have like windows above the door or not have windows above the door. But whatever it was, they didn't do it. And they I guess they had already done the brickwork, and they were like, hey, like,
yeah,
and the people were like, well, we gotta. They're like,
yeah, you gotta.
yeah.
You gotta do it, bitch. I
See the
said.
contract?
Yeah, dude, yeah, and I don't understand. Like, if I tell someone I'm gonna get this done in your car in this specific way, dude, that's what you pay me for. That's what I have to do. It's not my fault. It's not your fault that I, you know. So like the thing with Home Depot, gave me the wrong tile and the right box, and there was
Yes.
dude, they were arguing about it, and I was like, dude, I didn't put the tile in the box.
Yeah.
All I did was pick it up and pay for it
And gave you my
and
money.
give you my money. You know, but they were arguing that. On the other hand, there's a bunch of kids that are making $8 an hour.
Yep.
They're like, well, I don't know. A square peg doesn't go in a round hole. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do. You know.
Yep. Don't even get me started. Man, Home Depot, like, for real, what do you, what's your requirements to work there?
We just
Like-
lost a sponsorship.
Fine, Home Depot, I don't want your sponsorship. Like,
I wonder
until
if
you can start hiring people that can think.
I wonder if sometimes there's like something like random crackhead walking across the lot, and they're like, dude, you're late for your shift. And he's like, oh, and they
Yeah.
just put a vest on him. The guy doesn't even know he doesn't work there.
I thought you were going to say there was a random crackhead walking across the parking lot, and they're like, that's our CEO.
Get that guy.
Sorry, Home Depot, I just get together. Oh, okay, so we're going to try something new. This is called Pick a Card. I want to do a wheel, but I really didn't have time to pick a wheel. So let's just do this real quick. You can see these cards here. All right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So go ahead and pick a card.
Let's just go with the third one.
The third one?
Let's go straight from the middle.
All right. Fuck. That's I do 20 push-ups.
Cool. Doesn't say I do.
There was one where you do 20 push-ups.
Oh, good, because I don't feel like doing shit.
All right, let's see what the first one would have been. Free sticker, which I haven't made yet. Free t-shirt, which I haven't made yet. Free lunch.
I like lunch.
You buy me lunch.
I picked the right one.
This goes back to you buying on eBay or wherever you buy. You always get a good deal. Somehow you manage to always get the best deal. What advice would you give your younger self? Would you change anything?
Yeah, listen to more people. Listen to everyone. Even if you think they're listen to what they have. You don't have to act on it, but listen.
So that's super meta, because I've been into that whole thing of like, I'm realizing that I don't listen to people and I don't listen to the world enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just maybe like people my age and our age start realizing that, but I also speculate that probably they do it earlier like you are and I'm just late.
Yeah.
But I've really been trying to just listen.
Yeah. Dude, I had so many people try to give me good advice that came from a legitimate place, but because I saw them make bad mistakes, I took their whole persona as a mistake and I dismissed them. Where they had really good to say, they said they learned from the mistakes.
Yes.
You have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Just because you see someone as a doesn't mean that everything they have to say is that. You know.
I tell students, something to the effect of a stupid person never learns. A smart person learns from his mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. And I say it all the time, and I don't think I even really fully understand it the way that I will in like another 10 years. Where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm saying this all the time, But then 10 years goes by and I go, dude, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. It was right there in front of me. I wasn't paying enough attention. Working on cars, job or career?
Working on cars can be either or. Depends on how much you want to know. I know a lot of guys that would rather not know more because it's more complicated. You have to do more complicated jobs. And they're okay where they are. It can be a career if you're willing to learn everything every day. Like, every day we have a new car with a new system that takes a different type of repair procedure. If you're willing to learn, that can be a career.
Yeah.
One of the weird things is when I was younger, somebody told me, get a job where you get paid for what you know, not what you do. Because you will never get rich getting paid for what you do.
I'm sadly learning that too late.
Now, I'm not saying I'm going to get rich teaching, but I'm not here to work on cars.
Yeah.
I'm here because I know how to work on cars and I can guide students through that path.
Yeah.
Which lets me go, let me rephrase this, which could allow me to go home in peace every day.
Yeah.
Because of all the politics and the kids and the psychological baggage that we have to carry with the job because of the kids, we go home and we're still tired and stressed.
Yes.
But the job itself, if it wasn't for our own personal choice to be involved with those kids in their lives.
Yeah, more so than we're expected to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Then dude, I could go home and be like, I taught a class, Johnny fell, Jose got over.
Yeah.
Sad story. I could go home and just be okay. But because I actually get involved with the kids, I wear a fucking Jimmy, it's loud out like getting beat up by neighbor ladies.
Yeah.
That bothers you. But we do have to understand that that is a personal choice.
It is, yeah. People will be like, oh, you're a teacher, you should make more money. And I'll go, why?
Yeah, I mean, like.
And they'll go, well, and I'm like, you never really thought about it, did you? Like, you just heard some people say that.
Yeah, but because we're taking on these roles that are not part of our job.
Yeah.
Nobody told me I have to care about the kids.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not. It's great.
Yeah.
And it makes the actual teaching better. It's almost required for you to care about the kids to be a good teacher. But we're not getting paid to be good teachers, do we?
No,
and
that's
to be teachers.
That's the system in a nutshell. Is they're going to not consciously, and I'm not even saying it's a negative thing, but they're going to take as much from you as they can in order for the greater good of society, right? Okay, I get that. But that was also kind of the point of this podcast, is like we talked about the disconnect of people between what they know about their house versus what they've spent on it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how many jobs are there out there, like, a lawyer, where you're like, well, all he's got to do is like, no, and then you start getting into it and you're like, oh, I didn't realize how much more is involved. And I think with teaching, people don't realize that you're a teacher, you're knowledgeable in a field where you could be making more money than you are here.
Right.
You're taking work home every single day in the form of like emotional stress of caring about these kids.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a social worker, you're supposed to be a career guidance counselor, you're supposed to be a parent, a motivational speaker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, because this was actually, and it came up with a comment with Ileana, because Ileana just left teaching, right?
Yes.
She's like, so much work, not getting paid enough. But how much was your raise this year?
2%.
2%, right? How much was my raise?
2%.
How much was Cody's raise?
2%.
How much was anybody in the building?
Yeah.
So you can have this that sits on his ass, doesn't give a about the kids, doesn't worry about his lesson plan and what the kids are actually learning. He got his raise.
Yeah.
You can have the teacher that leaves the building every day at 8 o'clock, cares about the kid, make sure he's okay, helps him with issues outside of school, helps him psychologically, helps his mental health, does everything for this kid, leaves no time for herself.
Yeah.
What was her raise?
Yeah, same. And then it gets into, so we're going to do this commission on education, how to retain teachers longer. So I'm assuming that it's going to be some kind of performance-based incentive, but you're like, what about the teacher that is a solid B teacher, but runs the after-school club, cares about the kids, more than any other teacher, she's not going to get.
And it's because the data is not skewed, because we have people making these decisions that are not in the building. They weren't teachers. They're not involved.
Feet are not on the ground.
Exactly. So,
my old boss Kenneth has a thing hanging up in the shop of Homer Simpson, and it says facts are meaningless, they can be used to prove anything.
exactly.
And I used to get so mad looking at that, and then after I was not working there, it's like it clicked one day. Actually, it was because of teaching that I was like, oh,
Right. So remember that year when they were rating teachers based on your passing percentage
Yeah.
for certifications, right?
yeah,
And I'm not going to say which one because.
yeah,
But if a school had 2 students take this test and both students passed it, that teacher got a 100% passing rate.
yes,
If I had 50 kids take it
and
and
30 of them,
passed,
yeah, you got a lower rate,
I got a lower rate. And I was like, dude,
Yeah.
but I had 30 kids that passed and not ready to
but
go
your
to work.
percentage wasn't higher.
But the percentage was higher than
Yeah.
the other guy. I was like, well, how does that make sense when he got 2 kids for the year and I got 30?
Yeah.
Well, his passing rate is the percentage. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
stupid.
No, and we talked about this today, of just literally everything they say, probably comes from a good place, but by the time it gets funneled down, it's just, it's like living in some kind of alternate reality.
It is. And that's one of the things, like, I know you see it all the time. You go home frustrated when the meetings doesn't make sense. And I was like, dude, you're not going to, the people you're arguing with aren't going to be, you're arguing with yourself. And there's really nothing we're going to be able to change, because at the end of the day, education is money-based.
Yeah.
It's whoever's going to get that contract, whoever's going to get the deal.
Yeah.
And the money's not going to us. This is, what do they call it? Labor of passion, or labor of love.
Yeah.
Like, we do it because we care about the kids.
Yeah.
You've seen what happens to teachers that don't care about the kids. They don't last. They're not here. But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous sometimes.
All right. What's your favorite part of being a mechanic and or a teacher?
I think my favorite part of being a mechanic is, and I hate to admit it, but I find a lot of joy when a car, which I hate it because they end up coming back to me, but when a car bounces around from shop to shop to mechanic, and they bring it to me, and I'm like, and the fuck, it works.
Sling blade.
Yeah.
You check the gas.
I do find joy in it, because in a way, to me, it's like you always question yourself, right? You always, am I a good teacher? Am I a good mechanic? Well, when shit comes like that, and I know 8 different guys tried, and he comes to me and I figure it out in 10 minutes.
It's the confirmation.
It's the confirmation. It's like, all right, dude,
Yeah.
you may know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite part. The backside to that is that I do that, and inevitably that person's like, this motherfucker really did that in 10 minutes? I'm going to bring him every car I come across.
And then they expect miracles.
And then they expect miracles, because there are cars that people.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you fixed my other car in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the funny thing, like, I forgot what I was arguing with you about, and I was like, you fucking people think they come in here and I can turn one thing and the and like, I saw you do that 3 times.
Yeah.
I was like,
Literally.
oh, shit.
Seen you do it.
Yeah, but I think that's my favorite part, and the amount of money that I don't have to pay somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about, like, in my life in general, the amount of money I've saved just not paying somebody to.
A lot. At least $3.
At least $3.
What are some career paths that aren't directly related to cars that you would tell younger people about? Cody did like hydraulics or something before this.
Equipment repair.
Equipment repair.
So that's one thing. It's a good paying job. He's working on diesel boats.
Of course.
It's like in the higher 6-figure range.
Oh! Damn it, Dean.
There's, of course, car sales, which right now it's a little iffy. But I'll tell you this much, with my automotive background, which I took it more as a mechanical background, on the good sense where I learned hydraulics, pneumatics, electronics. All the work I've done in my house, it's absolutely a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Dude, I've done body work on cars, I can do sheetrock. I've wired engine swaps.
I would say the wiring in your garage is like flawless.
Yeah, it was the simplest wiring
Yeah.
job I've ever done because the wires are this big.
Yeah.
Only 3 colors.
Yeah.
You know, it's simple. And then you're working in a panel that's this big versus working in a box that's.
And you just drill through everything that's in the way.
You just drill through everything
Yeah.
that's in the way. It's super simple. Do the plumbing, patch tubing is like quick connects on everything. It's,
Yeah.
You can't. So if anybody wants to change from an automotive, like a builder's job, to working remodeling or construction, piece of cake.
Yeah.
You read the NEC or the plumbing code, and you learn a little bit from it, you're done. You
Yeah.
got what you need.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. All right, last question. What are 3 things every car owner should know?
How to check all your fluids,
Okay,
how to change flat tire,
for sure.
and how to confirm labor rates.
Okay, how do you confirm labor rates?
You can get a subscription online, or you can buy. You used to be able to buy a factory service manual, and a lot of cars still do it. I have printed service manuals for a lot of my cars because, like my mom, when she had to put that engine in her little
Yes.
Sentra,
Yeah.
she took it to several shops and was getting quotes in the $3,000 range. We would supply the engine, they would install it for us. Of course, there's no warranty because it's our engine, understandable. But $3,000, and then I'd be like, okay, so what's your labor rate? It'd be like $130. How many hours is this job?
Yeah.
It's 8 hours.
Yeah.
How do you get $3,000? Well, fluids. I was like, well, how much fluid is it?
Yeah.
Well, it's 4 quarts of oil.
Yeah.
How much fucking quart of
Yeah.
oil? You know, don't get me wrong. Charge whatever you want to charge.
Yeah.
Your labor rate is your labor rate. You put your price on it. But don't give me that shit. You know, and then even the shop we took it to, which quoted us the correct amount, and then they topped in I think like 2 extra hours for cleanup because he had an oil leak. I'm like, all right, whatever. Then when we went to check the car, we picked up the car. They wanted to charge her $200 because, because they had to put the old engine back on the thing,
Pallet. Yeah.
And I was like, really, dude?
Yeah.
And then they didn't recharge the Freon because they said it's not included in the labor they quoted. And I'm like, it's here. Like, you printed it.
Yeah.
It's R&R everything, transfer of fluids, transfer of components. And they're like, oh, does that? I was like, yeah, that means
Yeah.
you do that too. But I was able to go back and be like, hey, dude, no, you forwarded me this. This is what it says. Which goes back, actually. If you can't confirm labor rates, learn how to read a contract.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well, and you think about people that are buying used vehicles, not looking at the terms,
yes.
buying houses, not looking at the terms, signing phone contracts, not looking at the terms.
Yes. And I'll say this much: get a personal lawyer, even if it's a cheaper one, someone that can read stuff for you if you don't understand it. Because I learned so much from JP. God bless that guy. I would send him a contract, and he'd be like, "This is what you're looking. If shit's out, this is what's gonna happen. If it's good, this is where you're covered, and this is what the contract means." Several times that he saved me. That settlement after my car accident.
Yeah.
I forgot about settlement. A year and a half passed. I actually went past the Texas statute of limitations, but they had sent me a written offer. They forgot to put a date on it. So because the offer
Nice.
didn't have an expiration date,
Yeah.
he called them and he was like, "Hey," because they were like,
Maybe
"No."
you made this yesterday.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, the date went up. We're not paying for like $18,000, right?" And I was like, I just forgot about this. It was $18,000. He goes, "Nope, they forgot to put a date on it." And when, of course, when I called, they were like, "Yeah, done."
Yeah.
When he called, they're like, "Hey, I'm his personal attorney. You forgot to put a date on this. We'll be expecting a check." And, if it wasn't for that guy, dude, that check paid for him his service, for a few years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, 100%.
Not more than that. And then now I'm taking that information and relying it to my mom, because every time she goes somewhere, she's like, "Can you give me your quote?" She used to take the car to a shop and $300.
Pray for the best.
Then you pick it up, they're like, "Well, actually, it's $500.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, "Well, it says here,
Yeah.
where we both signed and agreed,
Yeah.
it's $300. Yeah, but we also did this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but this is what I
Yeah.
signed.
Did you call me?
Yeah. Or even if they call, they can't take a verbal agreement.
Yeah.
This is my agreement, and I tell her, do that shit. Anything that's valuable to you, get a written note. You can write a napkin. As long as it's signed, it's a contract.
Yeah.
Chango is calling me because he's got in a car accident, but he signed some.
Oh.
He signed some where he read it. It is what it is, man. You
Yeah.
agree to it.
Yeah.
People call me all the time, and or they sign up with a lawyer before they read anything, and then the lawyers are automatically entitled to 50%. Or if you want to, they have like a $10,000 cancellation fee.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you were set to make on this accident. You're probably gonna get $1,500 on the settlement, and you agreed to give this guy half.
Yeah.
Or $10,000 to cancel.
Yeah.
I would take chances on my own instead of doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Know? But yeah, people can't read a contract. We have parents here. They'll sign everything for the kid to be in the class.
Safety forms.
Yeah.
Don't even look at them.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, you agreed to pay for the test or the safety
Yeah.
glasses. Nobody told me that. I was like, no, it's in
Yeah,
what you signed.
I did.
Yeah, it's in what you signed. Yeah, but I don't read that. Like, I can sign the deed to your house in there and the title to your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't read it. It doesn't count. Like, that's not
how it works.
Yeah. Learn how to read a contract. If not, find someone that will do it for you.
Just learn, people.
It's fun as your head. But I mean, I do get it. It's hard because if you get a lawyer that charges you $100 an hour,
Yeah.
and it's 2 hours to translate a contract, sometimes people will be like, yeah.
Yeah, not worth the.
But if you're buying a $20,000 car,
Yes.
it's worth $200.
Yeah.
Definitely. You just gotta learn where to spend your money wisely.
Anything you want to plug? People find you.
Shameless plug. No, I would like people not to find me. That's one of the things. A lot of people ask me for like pictures. I feel you guys get like when I come across something cool, you guys might get a picture. Other than that, I really like to kind of stay under the radar. I don't like people on my Instagram. It's actually private. I post a lot of things, a lot of shit that's funny on social
I
media.
got you. Yeah.
Which other people may not think it's funny, so I'd rather just kind of keep it on the down low.
Leave them alone.
That's
All right, cool.
Yeah.
How much time do you think that was?
2 hours. I'm looking at it. My dog got it.
All right, appreciate it.
No problem.
French toast. All right, guys, it pains me to say it, but this is the end of episode 3 of This Is Who We Are podcast with me, Joel Yelton, and our guest today, Francisco Briseno. It pains me to sit here and look at myself, think about how amazing and beautiful I am, and know that you're not going to be able to see me for a little while. But the good news is you can always rewatch this, share it. So hit that like button, subscribe, leave me some comments, and look forward to seeing you soon. Go out there, do the best job you can, take care of yourself, take care of each other. See ya.